Okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3.
Hello folks, and welcome to the HQ of Formula One's newest team. We've been invited backstage to gain an exclusive insight into what could be one of the most exciting entries in the sport for many years. Now, we've seen a number of new teams enter the sport over the last decade, amongst their number Manor, Caterham, HRT and of course Haas. And while some have proved to be successful, others have morphed into different teams and some have disappeared completely. What marks this team out though as being something different is that its owner is also its driver. Now, there's a rich history of that in Formula One too. Sir Jack Brabham, John Surtees, Graham Hill and Bruce McLaren all drove their own cars in the sport, but it has become increasingly rare in recent years. What's very special about this team though is that while the team itself is new to Formula One, so too is its driver and owner.
Whatever happens this season, you've already made the history books. Tell me, do you feel up to the mammoth task of both managing and driving for a Formula One team? Every team needs two drivers, but what was it that drew you to your teammates? No one aims to finish bottom of the table. Who's the team you're aiming to beat? How are you expecting the car to feel out on track? The other teams now have years of experience, both on and off the track. How are you planning to catch up to them? Overtaking is a key part of this sport. How have you ensured that your car can take advantage of each opportunity that comes your way? And finally, which of your new departments are you most proud of?
Well, that's about all we've got time for here. We will see how this fledgling team fares in its first Grand Prix.
Okay, great, thank you. That's a wrap.
job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Iceman, Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix. No more testing, no more practice, this is the real deal. And it's make or break here at Albert Park, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. And home to round one of this year's Formula One World Championship. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.3-mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 16 corners could prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. Watch out for a safety car at some point during the Grand Prix. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Abac over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
It's hard to imagine how a small operation like that could survive in the ruthless world of Formula One. And yet here they are, first ever race looking surprisingly strong. But there are no points for qualifying. Let's see how they fare in the Grand Prix proper.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Iceman lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz, Ocon and Lance Stroll, Perez, Norris, Daniel Kvyat and Gasly, Vettel. They've taken a grid penalty. Magnussen, Antonio Giovinazzi and Roman Grosjean. Galeal, Russell, Latifi and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, some information on Magnussen. They're retiring from the race. Okay, that's a good start. Keep it up. stay clear. Right, some information on Hamilton. They are out of the race. Use your overtake button more. It's time to utilize some of this energy. We're leading our teammate by 17.3 seconds. This is your final lap of the race. Great job, you've done everything we wanted today.
A great race then, and a fantastic victory here at Albert Park. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all. So let's review the updated drivers' standings. Iceman takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Often my go-to would be a driver who's managed to pull off an especially impressive feat during the race. However, in this instance, I was more impressed by Max Verstappen's solid, clean driving throughout the event.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull take over as championship leaders. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. You took the top points today. Was it a comfortable win? You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled. How do you feel the weather affected the outcome today? It wasn't the cleanest race today, was it? Great. Well, that's everything.